Welcome back to another episode of John's Guitar Vault. Today we're going to be talking about my 1940 Martin D-18. This guitar's been through a lot, and we're going to talk about all the crazy stories, all the things that have been done to it throughout the years that I know of, and we're going to get into all that right after this. This guitar has been with me for now, I want to say, a little over 20 years now. I bought this guitar from a friend of mine in Colorado that runs a shop called the Old Town Pick and Parlor, Uncle Kit Simon, who called me up one day. We were still touring as the Chapmans, and he called up and said, "John, I got this great guitar that has been in the shop too long, and everybody believes that it's got a broken headstock." And the funny part about that was he had it priced at a point where it really wouldn't have mattered, even if it did have a broken headstock. But in the years of having it since, I do not believe it to have some. And the reason why people thought that it might have had a broken headstock was there's some really crazy refinish jobs that have been done on this. Up near the headstock it's all darkened out and blackened, and then it's wore off of the neck as the years have gone by. The whole back side has been just rubbed with an add-on shellac of some sort, which actually slid, and you'll see this in the pictures, where it just kind of slid around on here. I love on the bottom side where at the waist, you can see where he couldn't wait for it to dry because and try it on, you got a good denim imprint on it, on that, like I said, the slide on there. And then one of my favorite characteristics in the refin here is this has been sanded, the top has been sanded and thinned, and you can feel a bevel up to the pickguard because of the fact that they used to finish these guitars with the pickguard underneath them. So he didn't go up to the pickguard, he just kind of got right up to it and then quit sanding, so you can feel it, especially on this front side of that. But even said, Kit called me up and said, "Hey, I need help selling this, so if you want to take it on the road, help me find a buyer for it. And by the way, if you decide you want to keep it, let me know." And so that's what happened. I got it shipped to me. It arrived. It had a loose bridge on it, which was starting to come up, and some other details. And I kind of looked at it and I was like, "Oh, this will make a good deal. I'll keep it, and eventually maybe I'll sell it and trade it for something else that I like." Then what was really funny is I got a hold of a guy by the name of David Musselwhite, who is one of the greatest guitar repairmen out there. In fact, was a vintage expert for Martin themselves out in Nazareth, Pennsylvania. And I shipped this to him, and actually I had a friend of mine bring it up to him that lives up there. And he gave me a call and he said, "John, this is an example of a guitar that if it's a great guitar, you just can't kill it, because somebody absolutely tried to kill this guitar." He was going through all the various different repairs that had been done at the time, which is really funny. And I'll kind of go through a couple of those. One of them is, I love this up here. Where is it? I know it's out here. This one right here is a patch that has added a piece of spruce to it, which is such a tiny, tiny patch. It's a 2 to 3 grain width patch where you can tell it got a crack and missing a little hole there. But that's such a tiny area to even want to cut out. It would have been better just to leave it like this one was a big dent that had also happened in there. On the back side of this guitar, there's a big crack that has been glued and fixed, but I ran a mirror down inside there, and instead of doing cleats and just gluing it, they laid a flat piece of mahogany right along it. It's about, I'd say about 2 to 3 inches wide, and all the way the length of that entire deal, and just laid it right on top of that crack. The funniest part about that is they didn't even switch the grain direction. It's not cross-grained. It matches the same grain as the back, that the wood that's on the back already. Obviously, this is not the original bridge that was on here. This is a newer reissue bridge from Martin. And honestly, like I told you, when I got it, it kept coming loose. And the reason behind that is because, again, with these old guitars, this is obviously not taken care of like it should have been. There's definitely a belly raise here with a little bit of top sink that happened throughout the years because of not being humidified and done, and that caused the bridge to pull up. When it did so, it took parts of the top along with it, which made an uneven surface for them to do it. And there were lots of repairmen that took and redid bridge re-glues on this. I probably had this guitar since I owned it re-glued at least 6 or 7 times until I finally had Rick Ferris, shout out to Rick, who decided what the smartest idea was, is to kind of get a contour of what that top now looked like, and the shape of what it was underneath there with the missing pieces and the tore out spots, and actually shape that bridge to that in order to make a more solid connection all the way across that, and honestly has not pulled loose yet again. You'll see that it does have a little bit of an angle to it, which again we had to work with the intonation of the saddle to kind of make that right as well. It still does have the original nut on it. I do have the original tuners, although these have been replaced with Waverly tuners just to make it more easy to use, and this has been my player guitar. Ever since I got it repaired, it has just been the guitar that I want to say there was probably a 10-year period when I played nothing but this guitar. I had other guitars in my collection, but this is what I sounded like. This was me. And honestly, to this day, this is me. I can't say it's the greatest version of the D-18 that I've ever played, but it is the most me version of the D-18 that I've ever played. And what I mean by that is I love rosewood guitars. I love mahogany guitars. The mahogany clarity and stuff for leads is always great, but there's something missing in the depth of this. And honestly, I think with weird repairs that have been done to this, including that thinning of the top, it created a bigger bottom end. So I almost have that 28 style rhythm guitar, and I have the lead clarity of the mahogany guitar. So it's like this in-between spot that just works for me. And I don't know if it's because I blended to the guitar or if the guitar created who I become. I don't know what it is, or I just got used to that sound and that's what I like. But it really has been, the guitar that has really kind of forged who I am and the sound that I have as a guitar player. Couple of real interesting specs. In 1940, this was an 1.11". This particular guitar is a very unique guitar in that every 1940 or right in that era has been an interesting deal. They either made the neck super, super small or they made it super big and chunky, especially those years following this. They were very kind of bulky, almost baseball bat. This honestly feels like a modern profile guitar. It is super comfortable all the way up to 7. Right in here, it starts to get a little bit bigger, but still nothing big. And with that 1.11", it's just a comfortable guitar. And even though we've talked about this before, I tend to prefer 1.75" nut widths. This 1.11" has never been an issue for me, and honestly, I have a preference, but I definitely never feel like I need one or the other, and this guitar always proves that to me. When I play this guitar, it's just part of who I am, and it just feels natural, whether it's 11/16 or an 1.75". It really doesn't matter at all. Other things, it just has a cool look. It's dirty. I don't clean it. There is dirt that has been built up here. I know I used to get a kick out of when Rick worked on this guitar last. He was worried about steaming off because he took some of the, quote, patina off of here, which is basically dirt, and that was his big concern. That's definitely not a major concern for me. Another thing that I did to this guitar, which I highly recommend, and I will do probably with every guitar as they need to be done, I replaced all of the frets with EVO frets or Evo fret wire. I also used tall fret material. It is standard medium width, but taller than average. I like that because it bites, it's easy to play. And in fact, now that I've been playing this guitar just for this little bit here, I remember why I like that so much. I don't have to press as hard to get a more solid, controlled note. And I also, when I was touring all the time, I needed to have them replaced all the time. So that Evo fret wire really pays off for me. This is probably 12 years since I did the last fret work on this guitar, and they still look and play. No dents, no nothing in 12 solid years of playing. So I have no need to have those replaced and yet sound great. Other thing that I've done with this, it does have a K&K Trinity pickup setup, which all my guitars that I perform with have. I did modify the install a little bit, so you guys might find that interesting. The Trinity has a microphone that is on a gooseneck, and you'll see that right now as I'm pulling it out here. And what I did was, instead of installing it behind the bridge on the on the top here and miking the inside of the guitar. I wanted to mic the outside of the guitar to make the blend a little more natural. And what I did was this curled gooseneck. When it's out, you'll see it is controlled there. I play mostly down in here. I'm not going to run into that in any way. And I have all that control, and it's a much more natural deal. Now, again, when I need to put it away in order to not damage it, which you can probably see I've probably hit it a couple times, all I have to do is tuck that away on the inside of the guitar, and it's good to go. Again, that's just my personal deal. Now, I did have to do a little more EQ to the preamp after I did that, but I got it exactly the way I wanted it. Since I mostly lean in live shows on that microphone, I wanted to get it as natural as I possibly could make it, and that was my install choice. We've done that for a lot of other customers as well when they decided they wanted to do something similar, but for me that is the K&K Trinity, and it's the same way I have on all of my stage guitars that I use live. Other than that, this is definitely my sound. I love this guitar. I also did change it out with, I wanted black, but I wanted a harder material. It does have the water buffalo horn bridge pins instead of ivory or bone, just mainly for the black look, which is more D-18 like. And yeah, this is my 1940 D-18. Well, there you have it, everybody. That was my D-18 1940 model. If you like that and you want to see other videos like it, we did other guitars in the Guitar Vault series, including one of the very first big-time guitars that I ever had, which was my Santa Cruz Tony Rice model, and we did a video on that as well. And there's a few others also available throughout the channel, so you can check that out. But if you want to see that one, the Tony Rice one, you can click this link right here, and it'll take you directly to that. Thank you all so much for joining me for another episode of John's Guitar Vault, and we will see you next time for another fun acoustic video.